My friends, I begin today and conclude next Sunday. The scriptures I'm about to share with you, I suggest perhaps at some point or points during the week, kind of carry them with you, think about them. Consider their meaning for your life, the life of your family, the life of our community, of our world. Listen for the Word of God, first from Proverbs chapter 2. Good friend, take to heart what I'm telling you. Collect my counsels and guard them with your life. Tune your ears to the world of wisdom. Set your heart on a life of understanding. That's right, if you make insight your priority and won't take no for an answer, searching for it like a prospector panting for gold, like an adventurer on a treasure hunt. Believe me, before you know it, fear, reverence of God will be yours. You'll have come to the knowledge of God. Over 2,500 years ago plus, that was composed. Now from Matthew's Gospel, Jesus is teaching. Okay? He looks out over the folks. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Jesus goes on with another one-sentence parable. And again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls, who on finding one pearl of great value, went and sold all that he had and bought it. I think the shortest parables in our Gospels. Well, we all know we're back to school. Education is in the air. Well, I can dream, I hope it is. Every once in a while, it's beneficial to remember, to take stock of one's life, individually and corporately, culturally. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go this route these next 2 Sundays. Many of us today are convinced that now is the time to remember. To remember. And there's so much within what I've just said, and I'm going to try to unpack it. Now, to set the stage, just a few very brief quotes. Kind of, again, like these quick parables. Here are a couple sentence phrases of wisdom. Quotes. Memories are the key, not to the past, but to the future. Okay? Memories. Nothing is ever really lost to us as long as we remember it. And I'm going to give now one last one with attribution. This is from a Holocaust survivor, author, intellectual. He passed away several years ago, Elie Wiesel. Quote, "Without memory, there is no culture. Without memory, there would be no civilization, no society, no future." We are in a time when historical memory has been greatly reduced. Yes, by all means, we are bombarded with a plethora of snippets of dislocated, unaligned, non-juried factoids that cause more heat and confusion regarding the actual facts of our history, of our culture, rather than giving clarity and direction. Cultural memory is required if a society, if a people are going to continue to exist. Otherwise, what replaces it, we can be assured it will be different. And that difference can be minuscule or it could be all-encompassing. And my friends, religion is pivotal in remembering and in renewing. And depending on what you've or a people have lost, it could be tragic or it could be good. Cultural memory includes sharing understandings of the past, transmitted texts, i.e. for us, one of them, the Bible, oral traditions, monuments, rites, R-I-T-E-S, artifacts, fostering emotional attachment and identity across generations, connections to the past, remembering. Many of us today see a dearth, a famine of remembrances of things past, with semi-apologies to Marcel Proust. Within the text of remembering, I have a few questions for you to ponder, okay? Right now or during the week. Oh, by the way, as I've just said that, here is Jesus helping to focus on what is important to remember. At one point in Matthew chapter 6, Jesus strongly suggests, in terms of remembering, to start with the heart of the matter. And here's what he had to say. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So keep that in mind for context. So, what do you treasure? What do you highly value? What treasure do you deem worthy of your time and your commitment? Your total commitment. It is all too easy to just get by. 24 hours, they just run around so quickly, one day to the next. You do what you have to do, get by, and that's enough. Too often we cloud our days, our living, our lives with things to do to keep us from actually focusing on what's important, really important. Now, see, it's always so, when one is speaking, sharing thoughts, there are always so many nuances to life. I am not implying, I'm not saying that the many things that you do, that we do, and things that must be done are not of some importance. But think of it this way. Have you ever stopped to take some time to think about the life you have lived and the life you are living? Why you've chosen the particular path? Or was it somehow chosen for you? You're not really sure. I'm challenging us today to think more on the way open space of remembering. Ask yourself, what have I really treasured and actually continue to treasure? This morning and next week, I'm going to go out on a limb and remind you of an integral, foundational treasure that has indeed been with you and your culture, your society, that has wondrously enabled you to concentrate on multiple other treasures, which we have many of them, that you've been enjoying and embracing. But I'm going to try to get to the foundation this morning for us. So here's just a very, very quick list of worthy treasures, and feel free to share with me after the service maybe another one or two that you're thinking about. That really is something you treasure. So, and this is not exhaustive, okay? How about your family, your spouse, your children, your job, your career, your reputation, truth-telling, trust, your home, your car, your dog, cat, ferret, NFL football. Well, not sure about that. How about security? Do you treasure security? How about the rule of law? How about respect for the neighbor? And there's so much more, so much. Underlying these and other important things we treasure, what's the foundation for those things that you treasure? What vision, what meaning, what hope undergirds our list of important things to be remembered? Do you have any sense that you have been living within a reality, actually, consciously? I'm asking you to kind of take it now, make it conscious, okay? That you have been living in a reality that has been formed from antiquity, that has progressed, that has stumbled through history, and gifted you and yours with a life that has phenomenally blessed you, us, and much of the world, that has allowed this particular treasure that I'm referencing to be taken out of that earthly soil in this parable, this treasure, and has brought joy to God's creatures created in God's image. That's the treasure I'm going for. It's the all-encompassing one of how you live your life. So we're going to dig deep into the soil of Jesus' short stories of treasure and expensive pearls, or a pearl. For 2,000 years, these brief sentences continue, for many of us, into the 21st century to resonate. Just these few little sentences. Whoa, what do I treasure? That's what Jesus was asking them, asking today. So now I digress, although by doing so, I'm jumping forward circa 2025. So what's important? What's to be remembered? What's really treasured? And I'm scratching the surface. Just a couple ways of trying to get to this. I'm pretty sure that most all of us within our culture, our society, believe that education is extremely important. Back to school, okay? So I'm going to give you an educational issue. I've been reading recently about chronic absenteeism in schools. Chronic absenteeism is defined as missing 10% of a school year. Now, without going into details, chronic absenteeism in 2024 was at 23.5%. And that was 57% higher than just prior to the pandemic. Now, it's not clear why chronic absenteeism is happening to this degree. But I dare say that the people I've read, they say it is no doubt, it is a national problem for us. Editorial writer from the Wall Street Journal, William Galston, posits it this way in the conclusion of one of his articles, opinion pieces. Quote, "The longer chronic absenteeism persists, the more students will experience poor academic outcomes, reducing their economic prospects and diminishing the quality of their personal and social lives. It will take engaged parents, civil society organizations, government officials, and school leaders working to fill empty seats at schools," unquote. I imagine you've been reading about continuing falling scores of high school seniors in reading and math. Even Harvard recently has added teaching basic algebra. Harvard added that. We have work to do within our educational system. And we treasure it. We should treasure it. And we need to do something about it. Now I'm going to get a little more personal. How about religious knowledge? How about Christian knowledge? Where have you come from? Do you know much about it? You see, what I'm trying to do is to till the soil for our walk in the fields in Matthew's gospel as Jesus is describing the issue of finding a treasure. This treasure, this pearl, today, it seems to me, I'm not alone, is more underground than purchased and shared even among we Christians. Christians, in terms of knowledge, Christians are not faring any better than our educational institutions in inculcating the treasures that we have been bequeathed. There is a general biblical illiteracy among us and little accurate knowledge, truly accurate knowledge, about Christianity across our nation. Normally, our faith over the last few generations has been set up as a straw man for many of the ills of our nation and our world. And my guess is for many Christians, they kind of back off because they're really not sure of what's really Christian. Okay? No surprise, we mainline Protestants. That's us, the Episcopalians, the United Methodists, okay, Lutherans, certain Lutherans, okay? No surprise, we mainline Protestants score a bit below our evangelical friends in terms of religious knowledge. Now, it all depends, though, actually how you define these things. I'm sure you've noticed the increase in people, though, today who don't affiliate with any religion. They're called the nuns, unaffiliated. This is actually historic in our history and maybe in the history of the development of Christianity. And it's not historic in the good sense. Here's a brief snapshot of the Pew Research Center regarding the nuns. Those who say, oh, I don't identify with any religion particularly. About 29 to 30% of U.S. adults identify as religiously unaffiliated, and they lump them in there together here, the atheists, the agnostics, or nothing in particular. It's really a kind of a gross pulling things together there, but that's what they're doing. But I want to tell you, I want to let you know that basically all of those, that 29 to 30%, all of them are the recipients of the Judeo-Christian ethics that they espouse. They're just not realizing there is a name for it, Judeo-Christian. They back away from that. Public Religion Research Institute found that 27% of Americans identify as the nuns, N-O-N-E-S. I think they're all wonderful people, so don't misunderstand me. But that's a concern from whence one gets their principles, their ethics, and why they have them. Generational differences are striking. Gen Z born 1996, 34 to 40% of them identify as nuns. The millennials, 36% identify as nuns. The baby boomers, okay, 18%. You see, though, as we get older, there's less of this nun stuff, okay? The silent generation, 10%. Do the math, okay? Do the math. Time is not on our side for the future unless this nunnishness diminishes. The treasure needs to be restored. Again, I'm trudging along with Jesus as he out there in that field, those fields, as he challenges those children of God way back when. They're listening to every word that he's saying, longing for a treasure for their lives, for a pearl that's so beautiful and valuable for their lives. They want something to invest themselves in in going the distance of their lives to make sense out of their lives. Keep this in mind for these folks 2,000 years ago. They had never heard this before. They had never heard Jesus before, okay? This field thing with the hidden treasure, great pearl, it is new to them. They can't remember it because they never heard it. But now they have. They've heard it through Jesus. Now for us, for centuries, we, our culture, our society have been immersed in this treasure, and we are allowing it to fall back into the ground, into the soil, to be trampled over. Again, there's so much behind this, and I think if you've heard me over these years, I'm not looking in a very strict, narrow way for all of this. I'm looking for a more open way to express this, okay? If we allow this to happen, there will be consequences for generations to come. Paul to the Corinthian Christians doesn't equivocate. He never did. He places the responsibility to where it belongs as he is writing to one of the churches that he started. This is in Corinthians, okay, to the church of Corinth. He's talking to them, and at one point he says, we, referring to these Christians, we have this treasure in earthly vessels. Another translation, in jars of clay. That's us. To show, why do we have it? We have this treasure in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God. And that, again, as I've been trying to say over these last several weeks, that brings in a whole multitude of thoughts and morals and ethics, okay? That all this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. We have a treasure. We've had this treasure. We've known about this treasure, okay? Next week, I'm hoping we will dig deep with Jesus in those Matthew fields to rediscover, to remember that treasure that has been an amazing blessing to you, actually, to our world. And hopefully, better understand our responsibilities to share this treasure to the next generation. Amen.